Dr. Pema, welcome to Nepali Times studio, and thank you for your time to talk to us. I wanted to start with asking you about ICIMOD. It will soon be marking its 40th anniversary,
Yes.
and obviously, although a lot of the problems of the Himalayan and Hindu Kush region, which you look after, have changed, a lot of the problems are still the same, right? So how has ICIMOD's role evolved over the last 4 decades?
Okay. Those days, I think 40 years ago or in the 80s, the narrative used to be that the Himalayas are undergoing rapid deforestation, massive land erosion, landslides, and mainly attributed to, sort of unsustainable agricultural practices, and also overgrazing and so on. So it used to be like the mountain scientists used to describe the mountain areas as being inaccessible,
Yeah.
fragile.
I remember that. It was the
marginal,
Himalayan degradation
yes,
theory.
Yes, marginal
Yeah.
and vulnerable. Now, 40 years down the road, I am still wondering whether we have addressed the fragility. In fact, I feel that in many ways we have accelerated the situation through haphazard construction of roads and other infrastructure. You look at the landslides that are occurring throughout the region, is mainly to do with improper planning and execution of infrastructure development works. So in fact, we have not respected the fragility of the mountains. Now we have created accessibility. There is road access to almost every remote corner of this region, but has it improved the economic situation of those communities living there? Perhaps yes, in terms of material access to material goods and services. We have better education services, better health services, better access to markets, but the cultural erosion, the cultural wealth is probably gone down now. Now, yes, the climate change thing has come into the picture, and this is something that now every one of us has to take it very seriously, because it's not something that is going to happen after 100 years or 50 years down the road. It's happening now, and that is why ICIMOD has recognized that, and based on our Hindu Kush Himalayan assessment report that came out in 2019, the most important message from there is that we need to take urgent actions, and 6 urgent actions were identified. And the message is that we need to take action as a region, because most of the issues, most of the impacts of climate change are transboundary in nature, regional in nature. So while the countries on their own can do a lot, I think we can do much more as a region. So I think the urgent call to action includes a call for regional cooperation.
You mentioned the 2019 report that ICIMOD brought out. At that time, it was a landmark report. It was actually very comprehensive. It looked at the whole region and how the climate emergency was affecting the mountains and how that would impact on billions of people living downstream. But do you think that like what has happened this summer and last summer across the northern hemisphere, it looks like the whole process is accelerating much faster than we thought. Things we thought would happen in 2040 are happening now. Does this mean that we now need another assessment that actually makes it even more urgent?
Yes, I am sure you appreciate the fact that the process is very dynamic. It can change from year to year. But in order to, sort of give a clearer picture of the trends, we need to also have longer duration assessments. So yes, the 2019 assessment gave a good picture of the situation as of 2019. But now we also see that the climate change impact, climate change induced disaster, if you like, are increasing both in terms of frequency and intensity, and when least expected also.
Like Pakistan this week.
Yes, like Pakistan, going through this massive catastrophe. I understand that 1/3 of the country is under flood.
Yeah.
So these things keep on happening. And of course, last winter, if you remember, in February, there was this 3-4 days of, snowfall, which has also caused a lot of damage. But, we see this now very often. So it's, maybe 2-3 years down the line, we have to do another assessment, because then we can get a better picture of how things are going, in which direction they are moving.
Basically, it would mean that whatever impact we're seeing now, like with erratic monsoons or prolonged droughts or glacial retreat or snow lines going up, all this will actually get worse much faster than we thought. So what is ICIMOD? Is ICIMOD's area focus going to change a little bit to address this dynamic change?
Right. I think, while scientific research is important, while monitoring the trends are important, I think these things are happening now right in front of our eyes. Disasters, we don't need to, go through, literature reviews and also conduct research to find out whether disasters are happening in front of our eyes. So now, ICIMOD has recognized this, the urgency, and we have come up with a new strategy that will take us from 2023 to 2030, aligning with this current situation. So our vision, we have also now modified our vision to, align with this present situation. So is to work towards a greener, more climate resilient and inclusive Hindu Kush Himalaya. So we have brought now climate change to the fore, and our focus is going to be on addressing the climate change impacts.
The investment is good, I guess, but will it also look at the dangers that are posed by the impact of the climate emergency and the melting mountains on infrastructure downstream? We've seen this last year in Nepal with Melamchi. Pakistan is a glaring example from this week. Your own country, Bhutan, has suffered from it. So how are we going to, do we have to totally redesign infrastructure from now on?
Well, I think ideally that would be, what would be required, because if we keep on knowing the dangers, knowing the risk, if we keep on doing what we are doing now, building infrastructures, building hydropower plants, regardless of the imminent threats from GLOF, glacial lake outburst floods, or other such disasters, then we are asking for trouble, and we know that this is likely to happen. So that is why now we have to perhaps rethink, and instead of, for example, just as an example, instead of investing in mega hydropower plants, I think we should go for more micro hydros, smaller, mini and micro hydros and so on. I think that would be an alternative. It is safer, more sustainable, manageable, and then I think we have to invest a lot on early warning systems and preparedness, disaster, preparedness to respond to an imminent disaster and so on. So those are the kind of investment that we require right now.
But ICIMOD seems to be ideally placed, and you mentioned this before, to address transboundary risks.
Right.
And glacial lake outburst floods and other floods have a transboundary nature. I mean, most of the rivers in Nepal start in Tibet and China and then flow down into Nepal and then on to India and Bangladesh. So how can ICIMOD play a role in bringing these countries together, especially for early warning systems?
Right, we are working on it. As you know, it's not so easy, but I think there's no way out, rather than bringing the countries together to, recognize the transboundariness of the issues of climate change that, we are facing. As you mentioned, rivers are transboundary. Even pollution, air pollution is transboundary. So I think the advantage of ICIMOD is being its status as a politically neutral organization. So we are able to bring scientists from our member countries to sit on the same table and discuss these issues, about climate change, about transboundary disasters. So we have various dialogues going on. We have the Indus, Upper Indus Basin dialogue, where we also bring scientists from China, India and Pakistan together to discuss issues related to the Indus Basin. We have also the Koshi River Basin hub, where we also bring the scientists from India, China and Nepal together to discuss. So things are happening, but I think it's a process, and
Mm.
now we need to put more focus on this, in building this transboundary cooperation. Of course, that has always been our mandate, our sort of focus. But I think now we need to move this, fast forward this process.
And lastly, Dr. Pema, 40 years ago, the founders of ICIMOD recognized the importance of the Himalaya-Hindu Kush region. And now with the new challenges of climate change, can you just explain to us why do you think protecting the Himalaya is important?
I think the Himalayas, the Hindu Kush Himalayas as a region is not just an asset for us living in the region. It's a global asset. Our estimate is that around 2 billion people depend on the ecosystem services that the Hindu Kush Himalayan region provides. For example, water. I think I like to compare the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, the mountain region, as a water bank. So this bank, is fast. The water bank is, the reserve is fast depleting due to melting of glaciers, rapid melting of glaciers, not just melting. Now, I think that is well recognized. Everybody knows that the melting is taking place faster in this region than perhaps anywhere else in the world. So, and beside water, the Hindu Kush Himalaya region is also a treasure trove of biodiversity. Hotspots, so many hotspots of biodiversity are in this. And then, of course, the cultural diversity. And, given all this is a global asset, and if you don't protect the Himalayas, the impact is not going to be just felt within the region and within its immediate neighborhood. It's going to be felt globally, because where would the people move from here? They'll have to find some place, and that is going to be, going to have global, sort of implications.
Thank you, Dr. Pema, very much. You've raised some very important points, and we wish you all the best on your 40th anniversary.
Thank you very much.